What happens in the past does not always stay in the past. Archaeologists and historians are constantly unearthing artifacts, mysteries, and secrets of the past. So today, here at Unexplained Mysteries, we'll be taking a look at 3 particularly strange recent archaeological discoveries. "700-year-old toilets discovered." In 2014, archaeologists had the fortune, or perhaps in some other people's perspectives, the misfortune, of unearthing not one but 2 700-year-old toilets. With some deep introspection, archaeologists estimated that the toilets date back to the 14th century. The lavatories were found along Funen Island in Denmark. The lavatories do not resemble modern-day toilets by any means, which is expected. Rather, they take on the appearance of what appears to have been large barrels. Based off some inscriptions and residue, archaeologists have been able to form the conclusion that the barrels were not solely used as toilets. Rather, they had served another purpose prior to being transformed into a toilet. Some food residue was detected that indicates that the barrels were once used as a means of storing or transporting goods. Considering that the finds date back to the 14th century, the condition of the waste left behind in this toilet still gave off a very foul smell. However, in the archaeologists' eyes, this find was amazing, as it sheds light into the diets and lifestyles of Danish people at the time. Medieval sword contains cryptic code. In 1825, a mysterious sword was unearthed in River Witham in England that dated back to the 13th century. It now holds its place in the British Library, and it is displayed as part of an exhibition on the Magna Carta. However, an air of mystery still looms above the sword. What made and still makes the sword mysterious to this day is not the sword itself, but rather the 18-lettered inscription along the blade. Although appearing as what seems to be, or at least resemble, English lettering, the sequence of the letters has left cryptographers, linguists, historians, archaeologists, scholars, and more simply baffled and estranged by what the lettering symbolizes and means. There has been some allusion made that it incorporates both a mixture of Latin and Greek, but nothing is exactly certain. There has also been a big question of where the sword originates from. There has been some debate of the sword having ties to the Vikings, due to the nature of the fullers and pommel on the sword. A fuller is a term used in sword artistry and manufacturing that describes the grooves or indentations along the blade, whereas a pommel is the sword's hilt where one carries the sword by. The fact that the sword has not one, but 2 fullers or grooves is what led to considerations of Viking origin. However, ultimately, the debate was evened out that the similarities to medieval European swords outweighed those of Viking swords. The pommel or hilt is shaped like a cross, which historians have gathered that must symbolize Christianity and thus may have been used as a means for defending and upholding the sanctity of the church. Some have also cued that perhaps the first 3 letters of the sequence, NDX, are an abbreviation that translates to a Latin phrasing, Nostrum Dominus Christ, where Nostrum Dominus translates to Our Lord. Others have strayed from hypothesizing a religious meaning and have instead opted for a more secular opinion, citing that perhaps the message inlaid on the blade is some sort of battle cry, which would make perfect sense since swords were commonly used as battle weapons in that time era, so a message like that along the blade would certainly be befitting in that sense. But there also exists another opinion, this one perhaps being the most unsatisfying and maybe even disappointing opinion of all. It is predicted that the message may have no meaning, which would explain the trouble of trying to decipher the text. Cheese found in an Egyptian tomb is at least 3,200 years old. It is no secret that ancient Egyptians were known to produce pyramids and tombs as ways of preserving and housing the deceased, especially for individuals whom they held in high esteem and considered and designated as particularly respectable. Although the first thing that typically comes to mind when someone hears the word tombs is mummies, however, that is not the only finds one will encounter within a tomb. Often alongside with the carefully wrapped deceased corpse or mummy would also be other objects such as food, tools, clothing, jewellery, and even pets. This is due to the fact that it coincided with the beliefs pertaining to the afterlife that ancient Egyptians believed in and propagated. Instead of thinking of once you passed away as a stopping point, in the eyes of ancient Egyptians, loss of life was a continuation point. They preferred the belief of an afterlife to which passing away served as a doorway. They believed that the deceased souls would encompass a series of judgments before Osiris, whom they believed to be the god governing the afterlife. The deceased member would have to successfully pass to be awarded a paradise-like afterlife experience. This is also one of the reasons for the infamous, magnificent inscriptions and illustrations found alongside the walls of tombs. Tombs were often erected far prior to the person passing away as a preparation for their impending inevitable conclusion on Earth. This is precisely why so much thought and effort were placed into the tombs and how they were fashioned. The ancient Egyptians' views of the afterlife seem to have been the very reason for one particular discovery in Ptah's tomb. Dating back to the 13th century BC, Ptah was an esteemed official governing in ancient Egyptian society. Due to his high rank and positioning, naturally, a tomb was erected in his honor. His tomb was first discovered back in 1885, but ended up being unfortunately lost for 2 centuries due to strong sandstorms that masked the site. However, in 2010, archaeologists were once again reunited with his tomb site, and this time with much better luck as they have managed to do a better job of salvaging their finds. As thrilling as it was to come across Ptah's tomb after what was thought to have been a discovery forever lost, there was something else about this tomb that stood out to archaeologists. As archaeologists were dusting sand off the artifacts they had found, they got their hands on one particular jar that appeared to have a great quantity of some type of mysterious residue. After some further analysis conducted to identify what the substance was, the results came back identifying it to be none other than cheese. This was a discovery that shed light into the diets of ancient Egyptians and simply the fact that they too ate and produced cheese as a delectable treat just as many of us of the modern day enjoy as well. The cheese was most likely made from either goat or sheep's milk. In its fresh form, it is predicted to have had somewhat of an acidic tinge taste-wise and a consistency that was soft and mushy and easy to spread. Not only did the analysis conducted on the cheese confirm that it is indeed cheese, but it also pinpointed the presence of a bacteria responsible for an infectious disease called brucellosis. Between old age toilets, mysterious swords, and stale cheese intended as a sustenance for the deceased, it is a true fascination that such old artifacts manage to persevere through the odds of time. They also shed light on the similarities we share with our ancient predecessors that perhaps we did not think to consider prior. It leaves us to only wonder what mysteries and secrets of the past will be dug up next. But what do you make of these unusual archaeological discoveries? Be sure to let us know your thoughts in the comment section below and help us by growing this community while working to solve these unexplained mysteries. Thank you for watching and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.